I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network, and this is a breaking news alert. Donald Trump has just filed a bizarre, deranged, legally unsound, and bound to backfire defamation lawsuit against CNN for $425 million in federal court before the Southern District of Florida, alleging defamation of character. Now, this complaint that Donald Trump filed is borderline incomprehensible, and it looks like a third grader wrote it. No offense to third graders out there, but what can be gleaned from this lawsuit is Donald Trump is alleging that because CNN referred to his spreading of conspiracy theories relating to the 2020 election as the big lie and referred to his conduct before, during, and after the January 6th insurrection as the big lie, that has defamed Donald Trump's character. Trump also alleges that comparisons between his leadership and the leadership of other dictators like Adolf Hitler, when guests made those comparisons on CNN and when CNN commentators made that defamed Donald Trump's character, and he claims that he has suffered as a result to the tune of $425 million. Now, this lawsuit is going absolutely nowhere. Donald Trump is going to lose this lawsuit. And again, the pleadings here are barely comprehensible. But there is some good news to be gleaned from this lawsuit, and that is Donald Trump has now opened the door by filing this lawsuit and claiming that the term "the big lie" defamed him. He's now opened up the door to all of his conduct in connection with January 6th, before, during, and after, to be subject to discovery in federal courts. So now CNN, as the defendant in this lawsuit, can depose Donald Trump, and because he's the plaintiff, he'll have to sit for a deposition. CNN can also demand records from Donald Trump in the form of emails and text messages and notes relating to January 6th, before, during, and after. Now, CNN could actually get documents and emails and records here that even the January 6th committee or the DOJ would have a tough time getting. Now, arguably, Donald Trump in his own case could plead the fifth, like he did in the Letitia James matter, where the New York Attorney General was engaged in an investigation in a special proceeding which led to a lawsuit where Donald Trump took the fifth over 400 times. But in that case, he was being investigated as a defendant. Here, Donald Trump is the plaintiff in the case. And so if he were to plead the fifth, his case would ultimately be dismissed, and he and his lawyers would likely be sanctioned to a serious degree. One of the other things that Donald Trump has opened the door to is discovery on financial matters, because ostensibly Donald Trump is claiming that as a consequence of being defamed, he suffered financial damages. And so CNN could try to get and request, and certainly will, and in my view has the right to get, his tax records and other financial records to show whether or not he's lost money as a result of his allegations. Also, if Donald Trump is declaring that he suffered emotional distress, CNN can also ask for psychology records, doctor records, other medical records that could potentially evidence whether Donald Trump has suffered emotional distress or what pre-existing conditions he might have had. So Donald Trump just opened the door to a massive amount of discovery. At the same time, he is being investigated criminally by the Department of Justice. It's literally the worst thing that you can do if you're being investigated in criminal investigations, which he is, both in Georgia as well as by the DOJ, with multiple grand juries being convened in Washington, D.C. Now, to show you the caliber of this lawsuit, let's just take a look at some of the allegations. So this is how the complaint even starts. It says, the plaintiff, President Donald J. Trump, he's not the president anymore. How delusional can you be to start the complaint like that? Has been a longtime critic of defendant cable news network, CNN, not because CNN does a bad job of reporting the news, but because CNN seeks to create the news, quote, fake news. So that's how he actually starts the complaint. And then he goes in paragraph 2, even though the actual malice standard is met here, in circumstances like these, the judicially created policy of the actual malice standard should not apply. So in his lawsuit for defamation, he's challenging the very essence of New York Times versus Sullivan and saying that the actual malice standard, which is the standard for a public figure like himself, should not apply here at all. There's then the paragraph on jurisdiction, parties, and venue. Now, this is what's important to note. In Georgia, where CNN is headquartered, the statute of limitations for defamation is 1 year. In Florida, where Trump claims to reside, the statute for defamation, statute of limitations, is 2 years. And most of the accusations here are time barred based on the statute of limitations. I mean, some of the accusations against CNN date back a decade in this lawsuit, but lots of them are from 2019 and earlier, where the statute of limitations would have passed by now. And then the lawsuit goes on just to say very bizarre things. And so I'll give you an example of where Trump says he was defamed. He goes, on December 31, 2019, again, that would be time barred, but he goes, CNN's Anderson Cooper interviewed singer Linda Ronstadt on her views of the plaintiff and her comparisons between America under the leadership of President Donald Trump and Germany under the leadership of Adolf Hitler. No matter how lovely a voice she may have, Ronstadt is a singer, not a historian. I mean, that's literally an allegation in the complaint. And then there's a section, defamation, that is the subject of this complaint, subparagraph A. And it goes, CNN's use of the big lie, a concept tied to Adolf Hitler, to describe the plaintiff. One of the most pervasive associations between plaintiff and Hitler that CNN has employed is its use of the term big lie in relation to plaintiff's stated concerns about the integrity of the election process for the 2020 election. And then it goes on to say how using the term big lie is defamatory to Donald Trump, despite the fact that everything he said is a conspiracy and a big lie. Then subparagraph B is CNN's willful and continued use of the big lie. It goes, on June 15, 2020, CNN's new chairman and chief executive officer, Chris Licht, reportedly held a conference call with top CNN producers in which he expressed displeasure with the use of the term big lie. Since then, CNN's on-air personalities, including John King, Jake Tapper, John Avlon, Brian Kylar, and Don Lemon, among others, have continued to use this phrase to describe the plaintiffs and plaintiffs' questions of election integrity, despite an apparent admonition from their chief executive officer. So again, going after the terminology here of big lie. And then it goes on just to describe other articles. Like on February 11, 2022, CNN published an article written by Chris Cillizza, CNN editor-at-large, entitled, Here's the Terrible Reality. Trump's election lie is on the march. And with a link entitled, New Polls Suggest Trump 2020 Election Lie is Working. So Trump claims that a statement like that is what is defaming him. And that's basically the rest of the allegations. And it goes, the plaintiff requests compensatory damages in the amount in excess of $75,000 jurisdictional limit as to be determined at trial, and punitive damages in the amount of $475 million. And there's a footnote that says, this is 6 months of CNN's illicit profits, is what they say here. Now, the lawyers who filed this include Lindsay Halligan. And Lindsay Halligan, I don't even know any lawyer who had heard of her until the August 8th search warrant matters. Here's a photo of Lindsay Halligan, and this is her walking into court. And this was also filed apparently by Jim Trusty, apparently lawyers who don't really, my opinion, don't value their law degree and license that much, because this is a completely frivolous lawsuit, bizarre lawsuit. But fortunately for all of us, this will open up the door to discovery. Donald Trump will now have to sit for depositions and respond to interrogatories, which are questions under oath. He'll have to respond and produce relevant documents responsive to these issues. And he's now made the big lie a centerpiece of of this litigation, and he's opened the door to all questions about it. So again, a very, very, very bizarre and strange lawsuit filed by Trump, one of the strangest that I've seen. But Trump filed another really weird one, that racketeering RICO lawsuit that Alina Habba also filed in the Southern District of Florida. I mean, they filed these cases in the Southern District of Florida because they tried to get Eileen Cannon as the judge. It's not really a secret. In fact, in the racketeering case, the actual judge in that case who got assigned several months ago had even mentioned, this was even before we knew really who Judge Eileen Cannon was, had mentioned that it was obvious that Alina Habba was out there trying to go forum shopping to get Judge Eileen Cannon as the judge. But the lawyers here is, Lindsay Halligan, Jim Trusty, and very, very, very bizarre. And that racketeering lawsuit that I just mentioned, that got summarily dismissed, and Alina Habba is likely going to be sanctioned seriously for bringing that lawsuit. But another very, very, very bizarre, deranged lawsuit here. But again, the good news, discovery will be open, and on the merits, this thing is going absolutely nowhere. For now, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button. We are on our way to 1 million subs, thanks to your support. If you want to see this network grow, we're not funded by any outside investors. You can help us grow by going to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. You can join one of the membership tiers that best suits you. No pressure either way, but it's a way to get involved and help grow this network. That's Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas.
MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs, It Wasn't Rigged, You're Just a Loser, at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.